Before we dive in, we want to thank one of our NWA series sponsors, Pedal Park NWA, right in the heart of Farmington.
Pedal Park isn't just a place. It's a community hub built to gather, grow, and create food, friends, and festivities in real life.
They're all about connection and creativity, whether you're grabbing a bite of their delicious chicken and waffles or from one of the amazing food trucks on site, meeting up with friends, or joining an event. Pedal Park brings people together. Locals, tourists, families, foodies, entrepreneurs, even faith-based and wellness groups.
From trivia and bingo nights to disc golf putting league, pop-up vendors, theology on tap, and even business mentorship, there's always something going on.
And if you're looking to host something, birthday, pop-up, or community workshops, they've got the space and the vibe.
You'll want to visit them at 169 West Main Street in Farmington, Arkansas, or online at pedalparknwa.com.
Big thanks to Pedal Park for supporting this series. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, swing by and see what Gather, Grow, and Create really looks like. Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations. Today on Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics, we're joined by someone who has spent his entire career at the intersection of supply chain, retail, and technology, Mike Graen. Mike's 40-plus year journey includes leadership roles at Procter Gamble, Walmart, Crossmark, and now as principal at Collaboration LLC. He's a recognized expert in on-shelf availability, RFID, robotics, and using technology to close the gaps between suppliers and retailers.
Whether it's rolling out RFID across Walmart stores or advising on the future of retail tech like shelf scanning robots and electronic shelf labels, Mike's focus is always on improving inventory accuracy, driving down costs, and making the supply chain more collaborative and transparent. He's also taught global supply chain at the MBA level and helped launch the Center for Collaboration just steps from Walmart's headquarters, a place where retailers and suppliers come together to plan the future. We're excited to dig into the lessons, stories, and strategies Mike's picked up along the way. Welcome, Mike.
Welcome, Mike.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever your listeners happen to be. It's a pleasure to be here. And I need to have you guys follow me around wherever you go, because I think you need to do that introduction for my wife. She has no idea what to do, I don't think.
Hey, we'll be your hype guys. So when you
took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. When you walk in the front door, we'll announce you every time.
Yeah. These guys are going to tell them what I did today. I mean, listen to this. This is pretty good. I didn't even know I did all
listen,
this
Mike,
stuff.
We did give, that intro, but I'm sure we left something out. What else can you share with our audience and listeners more about Mike?
Well, I think that from a work standpoint, that's what I do. That's not who I am. I am a dedicated husband and father. I have a beautiful wife that I've been married for now 45 years, believe it or not.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Got married when I was 19, and we've got two children. Unfortunately, one of them passed away from a heart attack when they were mid-30s, which was highly unexpected.
Yeah.
My son, that was my daughter, Stephanie, and my son, Andrew, is a little bit younger than she is, about 4 years. He is a market asset protection manager out in Denver, Colorado. So he's the 6'7", 300-pound guy that you got to get past if you decide you want to steal stuff at Walmart. So we have lots of fun talking about Walmart stories for sure. But that's me. Love working, obviously. My wife and I do a lot of recreational vehicling. We call it glamping. It's not camping, but it's glamping. Ride motorcycles, and I'm an avid woodworker. And the only other thing is I spend a lot of hours at my church doing volunteer work, doing sound and graphics and technology stuff to enable the service. So that's what I am and who I am, and appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys.
That's
So
awesome. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 follow-up questions
Sure.
to that. What kind of motorcycle do you ride, and what type of woodworking do you do?
Motorcycle first. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 13, I think. So I've had them all small dirt bikes. Then I became 6'4" and 280 pounds. Decided dirt
Yeah.
bikes is probably not where I wanted to land. So got into street bikes, not race bikes, but just being able to drive on a street.
Yeah.
My favorites were Goldwings. So the big
Yeah.
Honda Goldwings that are more like cars, I think, than they're motorcycles.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed riding them with my wife. Unfortunately, she's had 2 knee replacement surgeries.
Oof.
So her ability to get her leg up and over the motorcycle is now diminished. And so we sold the last motorcycle, and now we have something called a slingshot, which is a two-wheeled motorcycle, which looks and drives more like a car. So that's the motorcycle part of it.
Wow.
The woodworking part is just whatever. I've got about 1,000 square foot shop with all of it's basically a cabinet shop. I've got table saws and miter saws and all kinds of nail equipment and stuff like that. Built all my own furniture, desks, home entertainment centers, beds, dressers. Don't do it for anything other than a hobby, but I really do enjoy going out on a Saturday with a big pile of wood, and by Sunday afternoon, I've got a piece of furniture I put in the house. So it's very rewarding.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Thanks
So
for sharing
are you making those and just giving those as gifts? Or are you selling it or what?
Well, a lot of it I make for my own wife. She has this great idea that we need to remodel the house every year or so. So we going through and do different models. So, pulling out all the kitchen cabinets and re-putting new kitchen cabinets in, or making whatever she needs for the house. I do a few things for friends, but no, I don't do it from a business standpoint. It's clearly just a hobby for me.
Okay, put our order in is what I heard.
Yeah. I think the most intricate thing I ever made was a cutting board.
Now that's where people start.
Anymore.
There's nothing wrong with cutting boards. Some of those cutting boards, with the way they make them, they cut them vertically, which is called ripping, and they do a cross cut, and they make little squares. And I mean, some of those things can get pretty complicated. Something I wouldn't even want to try.
I did like a checkerboard design.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a walnut and oak. I think I mixed. I can't remember what it was. A long time ago.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
my uncle does all that, so I'm just fascinated by it.
It's a very rewarding hobby for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, Mike. So you got married in 19. You got your passion for motorcycles, I think, started around age 13. How did you get into supply chain and technology?
That's a great.
And was that 12 years old? Was that 10?
No, it wasn't. So, I went to the University of Arkansas and was
Woo pig.
University. Yeah, no, they're not pigs. Did you say pig? Woo pig?
I said woo pig suey.
Ah, well, that's because I mistakenly said Arkansas and I didn't mean to. I went to the University of Cincinnati is what I meant to say.
As soon as you say woo pig suey.
As soon as you say woo pig, I said I didn't say that right. I was a Bearcat.
What's Cincinnati's
Bearcat
mascot?
It was a Bearcat.
Oh, Bearcat.
Whatever that is. Nice. I don't know if it's a bear or a cat or both.
Exactly.
Cincinnati Bearcats. And I ended up working for the University of Cincinnati kind of as I was getting my bachelor's degree. I really enjoyed working with computers. I just thought that was so fascinating that you can figure out how to program computers and do stuff like that. And I volunteered. My father was on staff at the University of Cincinnati, and they wanted to do a bunch of analytic work, correlation work, multi-regression analysis, and all this other kind of stuff, which you cannot do on a calculator. You need to have a computer to be able to do that kind of stuff. So I learned how to program the computer to be able to read all this data in and do various analysis and things like that. Got really intrigued with that. Got a bachelor's degree in information systems from the University of Cincinnati, not Arkansas. And then decided to go out and start looking for a job. And all I got was you could be a programmer, another programmer, and basically programming for the rest of your career. And I go, I don't know that I want to be a programmer for the rest of my career. And so I got involved with a master's program, I got to teach undergraduate students, and I got a undergrad or grad MBA with management. So I'm management and information systems. That's how I got involved with the technology part of that. How I got involved with the supply chain part was really when I started working very closely with the Procter and Gamble and Walmart relationship, which I'm sure we'll talk more about. But that's
Yes,
those are the
absolutely.
biggest opportunities we had were supply chain, and so I trust applied supply chain and technology together to solve some of the real problems we had.
Jiminy Christmas. You're early adopter on technology, right?
I hate to say it, but I started programming computers when you had to use punched cards. You put cards in a reader and hit a button, and oh, there's the errors. Okay, I got to go fix those cards. That's how I started. Now I'm not really dating myself, but yeah, it's definitely come a long way for sure.
Yeah. I bet our kids would be like, "What do you mean punch card?" I don't know. I don't even know what that is.
If I even showed them a VCR tape, they wouldn't know what that was. So it's amazing. You watch some of these YouTube videos of parents going, "What's this?" And it's a floppy disk, and they go, "I have no idea, Dad. What is that?"
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I love the ones with somebody I know put a video up the other day of like they found a rotary dial phone, and they showed it, and they're like, "Okay, I want you to, what is this?" And they're just like, their kids are like looking at it. What am I supposed to do with this?
That's wild.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, listen, Mike, we kind of consider you the P&G guy. You definitely have had some Walmart experience, and I want to get some stories from that, like what the experience was like scaling with Walmart from 300 million to 13 billion with P&G's retail IT lead. Give us a flavor of what that was like.
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess that what I would say, it was probably the most meaningful and impactful time that I had in my 42-year Summit career. It was at one of those times where I was an IT person. I actually moved from Cincinnati to Cape Girardeau, Missouri, where we have a manufacturing plant, made diapers, Loves, Always products, etc. I was expecting to be down there for 5 years. And after about a year, they called me and go, "Hey, you've done a great job where you are. We're going to move you." I go, "Move me back to Cincinnati?" "No, we're going to move you to Fayetteville." I go, "What in the world's in Fayetteville?" Because I'm thinking North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Walmart's down there. Okay. What is Walmart? I'm IT. What is Walmart and IT going to do? I don't know. But our relationship between Procter and Gamble and Walmart is not very good. And we need a small group of folks to come down and fix it. Now, remember, this is 1989. There are no supplier teams in Northwest Arkansas for the most part. P&G was literally calling on Walmart, having people fly in from St. Louis and fly back, flying in from Dallas, fly back. There was no communication. There was no clear direction when it came to Walmart. It was one of those situations where Walmart was one of the few national retailers out there. Most of the time they were geographic, who's in Florida, who's in St. Louis, who's wherever.
Okay.
And Mr. Sam Walton was actually the one who basically said, "Look, the relationship between Procter and Gamble and Walmart is at a new low. We do a lot of business with you, P&G, but unfortunately, you're not very easy to work with. You're all high-low. You're very complicated. Everything's manual. Everything's paper and pencil. We need to create a better working relationship with P&G." And it got so bad, and you guys will laugh at this, but Walmart actually has this thing called the Vendor of the Year Award. Well, Mr. Sam, because of the amount of business that we did with Walmart, called Procter and Gamble to award us the Vendor of the Year Award. They called the CEO of Procter and Gamble, and the CEO wouldn't return his phone call. Yeah, hard to believe, right? And he wasn't being mean. He was like, "Well, that's the sales folks' job. That's not my job. I don't talk to, my job is to figure out how to sell product to people via my advertising." So keep in mind, back then the brands really owned the relationship with the customers through things like soap operas and things like that. Then it sort of transitioned to the retailers on that relationship. And I would argue now that customers actually own the relationship because they're going to get what they want with this device right here. There's not a lot of loyalty.
I agree. Yep.
Bottom line is what brought me back to Northwest Arkansas was a small group of folks. I think there was a total of 5 or so that said, we're going to work together multifunctionally. Our boss was a guy by the name of Tom Buccio. I don't know if you've ever heard Tom before, but
I know the name.
He was the president of the P&G relationship, and he and a small group of people relocated to Northwest Arkansas to work more effectively with Walmart, which that's how I got down here, and that's how I got involved with some of the supply chain technology work.
Wow.
So, yeah, go ahead, Higgins.
No, I'm just like, I'm just amazed because, I started with Walmart in 1994 and I remember like it was, it became kind of like, it became the benchmark. You start thinking about that and how that relationship changed and how it, how it grew brand awareness across all of the P&G brands. And now it changed how supplier relationships were managed. So yeah, I was fascinated by that whole thing.
Yeah, there's actually a book that Tom Buccio, our boss, wrote, and I'll refer to it later because you asked me for what book would be helpful for people to understand that. There's a book written called Collaborative Disruption by Tom Buccio, and it describes, it was actually on Doug McMillan's top read list that he normally publishes. It describes in detail all the backstories and all the, how did the P&G Walmart relationship, how to go from something that was very adversarial and transactional to something that's very collaborative. And it's a pretty good read for folks to really understand that relationship. But that's what got me down here. And the reason I got it, back to your original question, Kevin, supply chain is most of the things that were broken between P&G and Walmart, besides not liking each other because of the way we did business together, was the supply chain. I mean, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
We did $300 million worth of business back and forth on fax machines. And for those of you who don't know what a fax machine, I won't quite go there, but literally we would have our orders come yet, and somebody would stand by the fax machine and pull off all of the fax machine orders and go key them into the system, and then they, ship them to the plants, and then they would fax all the invoices back. And it was 100% of this was just, hard to believe that that's how the business was done, but that's how the business was done. So a lot of things were, how do we take this from a manual process and literally connect the systems together, both from a logistics standpoint certainly for how we ship product, but also from a technology standpoint. We first started working with Walmart, we couldn't even email them. We could email our own company, but we couldn't email outside of our company, nor could Walmart. So connecting that stuff together, some pretty basic kinds of things, created an environment that made it much better working relationship together.
Man, we could do hours on that section right there, right? Because just the emailing back and forth. I mean, in 1994, when I joined Walmart, we couldn't even, if we left our desk, we couldn't even get our email outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty ridiculous, right?
Yeah. It's amazing.
But it's amazing. You started off with, it's $300 million was being done with the fax machine. So the fact that it is being done with the fax machine is comical and, and it dates us all. But $300 million worth, that's how it was being managed. That's what's amazing.
A lot of business. Well, and there's a lot of frustration and a lot of errors and a lot of rework. And I mean, everybody saw P&G as, we love your products. We love Tide. We love Pampers. We love Always. We love all the, the Charmins, et cetera. We love your products. It's all the other stuff that got in the way. And most of it was a lot of supply chain, very adversarial, very transactional kinds of stuff. I'll give you another quick example. My boss asked me, this is comical today, how much business do we do with Walmart? Seems like a pretty straightforward question, right? Mm-hmm. I'll have to say Mr. Higgins, because you guys both have the same name, Kevin. Mr. Higgins, how long do you think it took me to answer that question?
Oh, man, back in the day?
Back in 89, 90 kind of time.
Yeah, I'm going to say it took you about 4 days.
6 months.
Jeez.
6 months. And the
6
reason it took
months.
6 months
Oh,
is we had databases that told me how many diapers we sold in California. I had a different database, how much Tide we sell in Florida. I had all these various databases of all these different products selling to the local retailers, pulling that all together. So it was, what does a national retailer like Walmart do across all of our portfolio? Literally take me 6 months. Now,
Uh,
Mr. Parkerson, you get to play the role of Sam Walton. Okay. Because
good.
6 months later, I finally get this information, and my boss says, "Hey, let's go talk to Walmart." And we go to win the meeting, and literally Sam Walton sitting in the room. Okay, he says, "Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell Mr. Sam, which now is you, Kevin, how much business we're doing?" And I said, "Mr. Sam, we did 23 million statistical cases with you last year. What do you think?"
Well, first of all, I'd ask you, why did it take so long? that was 6 months ago.
Well, he didn't know that. He thought that was a brand new question.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So you can't ask that question because he had no idea I was working on it for 6 months. But that's what we did. 23 million statistical cases with you last year. What's your reaction to that?
I don't know how I would react.
Mr. Sam asked a really straightforward question. What the heck is a statistical case?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I go,
right.
oh, I said, okay, well, what we do is we sell big bottles of detergent and little bitty tubes of toothpaste. So to equate those, we have to statistically equate those. There is no such thing as a statistical case. It's a way of evaluating our business internally at P&G. It means nothing outside of P&G. And so Mr. Sam very gently and very guyly said, "Mike, I'm not sure that I know what a stat case is. I'm not sure that I care. What I want to know is how much of your stuff is selling to my customers. And by the way, I don't make enough money on you." I said, okay. And I'm thinking, if I had a cell phone then, honey, don't unpack. We're not going to be here long. Mr. Sam does not like anything that I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I said, "Mr. Sam, look, love where you're heading with this. We don't know what we sell. All we know is what we sell to you. We have no idea what your stores sell." And so he literally called the CIO of Walmart, who at the top it was Bobby Martin. He said, Mike Graen's coming over to get some data. We got the data. We found out they were not doing very much sales, which is what we thought. And the margins were very, very, very difficult in very difficult categories. So we put a plan together to figure out how do you basically, merchandise stuff that you made some money on and stop selling some stuff that you weren't making money on. Within a year, it was a multi-million-dollar profitability swing. So therein lies a success story, which says, if you look at this business through the customer's eye, which is what is this lady buying diapers for, it's not a Walmart problem. It's not a P&G problem. It's how do we focus on that person? And how do we measure what they want, which is through sales and profitability? We come to a better solution. So, and we did that, and it was exciting, except for Mr. Sam said, well, if I can fix P&G, I love that. If he can fix P&G, what can I do with everybody else? So I then went inside a Walmart for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and worked on something called BDSS, which ultimately became Retail Link. Okay.
Yeah.
And not from a technology standpoint. I wasn't programming the computer, but I was representing this is what suppliers would like to be able to see. And can we share that data with them? Which Mr. Sam was a huge proponent of sharing data. If I know what's going on, I'm going to share with everybody I can because they can more effectively take care of the customer, which was absolutely spot on. So there's a long couple stories, but between the purchase order and invoices, a lot of this was like, well, let's go after the next big thing that's frustrating our two companies. And these are the kinds of things that we identified, and technology played an enormous role, rectifying those.
That's such a great story. And BDSS, man, I just had flashbacks because I'm like, buyer decision support system, right?
Exactly right.
And so I remember that from the early days, but I believe that there's a lesson there if we can see this through the customer's eyes. And I think that's why KP and I and Mike, people like you, when we were raised in our professional career to see that. That's what we were taught.
everything that we did at Walmart was, how does this impact the customer? Does it make the customer's life better? Why is the customer doing this? And so every job I've ever had since Walmart and while I was in Walmart, that's what we see. And I believe that we bring forward better solutions in whatever role we're in, because that we start there and we work our way back. And so I think that there's just an incredibly valuable lesson when you think about it that way.
Well, I'm sure we would get into lessons learned and all those other kinds of stuff towards the end of this. My single lesson is, before you try and go do anything to map or develop solutions, etc., go do the work, right? Yeah. And many a times, this was after I left P&G and went to Walmart, many a times we'd sit in a home office in a huddle room and we'd debate how this works in a store. And I would just grab everybody and say, grab your jackets, grab your coats, grab your pens and papers. Let's walk across the street. Let's see how they do it. Yep. And it just, the light bulbs went on, because it's like, oh, I had no idea they did it that way. Why did they do it that way? But that's because the best way they've got.
Do the work. I love that.
Absolutely. And it's not one function. It's not merchandising. It's not sales. It's not finance. It's not IT. It's not supply chain. It's all the functions working together with a single mission that says, how do we make sure we take care of the customer? And the customer in this case for P&G was Walmart. But we quickly learned the real customer is the person who buys diapers in a Walmart store. So every question became, what's the right thing for her? What's the right thing for to take care of her? And many of debates on who was right quickly got squished when we said, what's the right thing for the customer who buys the product in the store or can't buy the product in the store, which is a whole nother opportunity.
Absolutely.
Everything you just said just kind of rolls and bundles up into kind of the next topic, the retail collaboration. And you were a driving force behind supplier collaboration at both Walmart and Crossmark. So what does real collaboration between retailers and suppliers look like? And in that, can you tell us a little bit about the Center for Collaboration and what made it unique?
Yeah. Before we go into the retail Center for Collaboration, which, by the way, I don't believe is open anymore. I believe they've kind of shut that particular facility down. But I'll tell you the genesis behind what retailer collaboration looks like. I brought the same level of interest of working very closely with Walmart to working with other suppliers in Walmart together, because Kevin, you may remember this. There was a project that was a few years ago called the Distribution Center PO Project. Basically, they took a intelligent purchase order where the DC and the department number and the door number and all that stuff was part of the purchase order. DC number was 2 digits, and they were about to open up DC number 100. So they had a Y2K problem. And so what they did is they said, well, let me call Mike in and see if he has a problem if we make that PO just a non-intelligent purchase order number, just a random number. And I said, no, absolutely not. We don't use it anyway. You receive it via EDI, we process it, and we send it back to you. That was the first stage. The second stage was they said, well, go ahead and do that. And by the way, we need to know the DC number and the department number and the order type and all this other stuff. So we need you to ship that on all of the billing information, all the billing, bill of lading information. It's like, we don't use that. You send it to us. We don't use it. So in order for us to be able to figure out how to do that and get it back to you was probably going to cost us $250,000, which seems like a lot of money. And it was a lot of money, right? Walmart said, well, good, let's do that. No, we don't get anything out of that. And honestly, the only thing we get is we get our trucks continue to be unloaded. And unfortunately, they had this habit of going, well, all the other suppliers can do it, but you can't. Okay. But I happened to be working very closely with other suppliers. So I started making phone calls and they go, yeah, we got the letter too. We looked at it, we opened it, and we go, oh, I don't want to deal with that one right now. Let's put that one away. Just hope it goes away. And it wasn't going to go away. So long story short, with a lot of work with a lot of hard folks, we end up coming up with a standard that was GS1, which is Global Standards Organization, approved to be able to use something called the global location number to identify what door you wanted something to be able to be delivered to. So we were able to circumvent this $250,000 across, I don't know, several thousand suppliers that Walmart had, and come up with an industry standard that could be used not only for Walmart, but other retailers. And it was a very fun project. I took a lot of beatings from it. I had several very, very loud discussions in the CIO's office about why I was being so difficult. And I was like, I'm being difficult because the person who buys diapers in a Walmart store doesn't need to pay any more money because we couldn't figure out how to work together. That's not their problem. This is our problem, right? So
That's great.
we said, look, after the end of all that, that wasn't a very fun process, but we said, look, it's not the first time Walmart's going to do something that have to require a supplier to change, whether it's move into some kind of automated item file process like global data sync. RFID is one, putting RFID tags on products. There's always going to be an implication of Walmart continuing to grow and taking care of their customers that are going to require suppliers to do work. So let's bring together the top suppliers, you know, from food, consumables, general merchandise, big suppliers, little suppliers, and let's meet together once a month to go, what are the 5 things that Walmart's working on right now that we need to get prepared for? A, we're going to go ahead and help you come up with a way to do it so it's not a dear valued supplier letter. B, we're going to try and do it with it, which is consistent with the rest of the industry. So I don't have to treat Walmart different than I do Target, different than I do Kroger, or anything like that. So that was the retailer supplier board that we put together. It ran for probably about 10 years or so. I don't know what the status of it now is. Hopefully they're still using it and doing it.
In some form. Yeah.
Yeah. For some format of that. So, that was one of those wonderful projects just to get together with number of people, because nobody wanted to do things. This sounds bad. Nobody wanted to do things just for Walmart because they were Walmart. They wanted to do it right because it was the right thing for the shopper in the store, right? That's the why people wanted to do it. So we had a lot of contentious discussions, but we usually try to always look through what's the right thing for that shopper. I sound like a broken record, but that's the message of this thing, which is, who is your customer and what do we want to make sure that we are taking care of them and providing them the best prices, the best quality product and freshness, et cetera. So
that just needs to be on repeat.
It does. The Center for Collaborations, Kevin, was after I did my thing at Walmart, I was starting to look at what kind of was next after that. And a company called Crossmark, who's a broker in the area, was building a brand new building right next to the home office. And they called it a Center for Collaboration. And I said, well, that's interesting because I've been doing collaboration for a couple of years now. What does that mean to you? Well, you know, we're going to be right next door to the home office, so it's real close. We'll have coffee and meeting rooms and stuff like that. And I said, in all due respect, that sounds like an Admiral's Club. Close to the airport, got good coffee, nice accommodations. That doesn't make it collaborative. What is it that makes it collaborative? They couldn't answer that question. And I was like, well, I think what makes it collaborative is the ability to see the store real life, real size, and be able to dynamically try different things. And so I joined Crossmark for a few years to build that building. We put in 8-foot tall by 16-foot video walls that allow you to literally go up to a screen life size and move product around. And what about that? And what about that? We put in technology that allowed us to bring in shoppers to give us feedback on, here's what we're thinking about we had a kitchen built so you could actually do taste testing in the kitchen. Then we brought them into a room and says, here's how you buy that product on the shelf. It could be monitored from everybody. And we told everybody it was, cameras everywhere. It gave people an opportunity to get really close with customers or really close with what retail would look like in an environment without having to physically build a layout center or stuff like that. Now, layout centers still existed. They're still playing an important role. But can you come up with a way of doing that stuff virtually and digitally? And so that was the Center for Collaboration. I did that for a couple of years before I went back to Walmart for their RFID work.
Well, that gets me to RFID. Good. And that whole category. So RFID, electronic shelf labels, AI, shelf scanning robots, all of these sound really futuristic. But you've actually deployed these in real stores. Give us your opinion on kind of what's worked and what hasn't worked.
I think what I would tell you is each one of these must be grounded in a business problem or a business opportunity, not tech for tech's sake. Okay. Clap, golf clap. I'm not a golfer, but that was a golf clap.
Yeah.
We chase too much stuff on because it's cool tech. One of the first things you learn as an IT person is you hate it when your boss's boss goes on a trip because he's going to read one of those in-flight magazines and look, I just have to talk to my computer and it does whatever I want to do.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that, right? It's getting to the point where it is work like that, but for years you can't talk to your computer and say, "What's our sales numbers for today?" I mean, you couldn't do that before, right? So it has to be grounded in what is the real problem we're trying to solve here. Number one. Number two, does this technology solve that problem? Okay.
Yep.
So let me give you an example. RFID was a really, really cool technology that we experimented with between Procter Gamble and Walmart back in 2003. It might have been, Kevin, while you were just about leaving, right?
Yep.
Just coming on the way. And the technology's been around since World War II. They used to put RFID on military equipment so they could track where their military equipment is. So the technology's been around for a long time. There was a lady by the name of Pam Cohn and Linda Dillman at Walmart who was adamant that we needed to do RFID throughout the supply chain. So I want to be able to see Pampers diapers coming off a plant, track it through the P&G distribution network, seeing it move to the Walmart distribution center, seeing it go through the stores, and exactly where that product happens to go. Great vision, tremendous vision. The problem was the technology just wasn't ready yet. It was not ready yet. It was too expensive. Tags were 30 to 50 cents per item. Compared to now, you can get them at bulk between 3 and 5 cents, much cheaper, and they work much better now. The second problem is it tracked our product throughout the supply chain, but we just spent years doing electronic data interchange. We already knew from a purchase order, invoice, ASN, invoicing, or an payment standpoint where stuff was in the supply chain. Yep. It's when we broke open the box and emptied the contents out and put it on the shelf is when it all got messed up, right? Okay. And so we started with a premise which felt like getting involved with the technology for the technology's sake. We put that on hold, probably in 2005, we put that on hold, came back to it in 2010 when I was still at Walmart, and we rolled out item level because the problem was when they broke open the cases and the things became eaches is where we lost track of it. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And so RFID is an example of we need to solve what is the actual solve for that? What is the reason we're doing that? And there was one reason we were doing RFID when we first started. You guys know what that happened to be?
Because somebody told you to.
Nah, close. Probably some close truth to that. We did not have item file accuracy. We didn't have item accuracy. We had no idea. Bottled water is a bad example because it's RFID isn't used for water, but yep. I got 7 of these. The system says I have 7 of these bottled waters. I don't have any. There's none in the store. Okay. So the system says I have 7. I reorder it when the system comes down to 2. I don't sell any because I don't have any, and I don't reorder any because I think I have 7. Okay. So I have a hole in the shelf, says I have 7. I can't find them anywhere. And we continue to disappoint customers because they're looking for that product, but the on hand will only go down to 4 or 3, whatever the number happens to be, if I sell some. So therein lies the problem, right? Mm-hmm. So RFID became the tool of choice for literally putting an RFID tag on that product. Here's an example of an RFID tag, right? I'll show that in the camera here real quick. So there's an RFID tag, and it's got a small metal chip in it. It identifies what that product is, and if I've got 4 shirts, I know not only how many shirts I've got, which is 4, but I have a unique serial number for each shirt. One of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, kind of like the VIN number in your car.
Yep.
So I not only can know how many I have, I can tell you the various status of each one of those. Oh, one of them's in the back room, and one of them's on the sales floor, and one of them's in a customer's cart, and one just got returned from a customer because it was the wrong size, or whatever that happened to be. So RFID has become the technology of choice for almost everybody in retail for knowing what you have and knowing where it's located in a near real-time area. So imagine walking into a Walmart supercenter with 150,000 items. I should be able to know exactly what I have and exactly where it is real time and be able to provide that availability to not only the associates in the store, but the customers in the store. And that's a game changer. So that's my big thing, which is don't chase the technology because this technology is cool.
Yeah.
Make sure it has a business purpose, like being able to know what you have and where it's located and exposing those to customers and associates. And you'll be much more successful than just because it's cool tech.
Yeah. Because we have a tendency to like that is cool, right? And let's put it on everything, or let's have the suppliers put it on everything. But then it gets into the store, and I don't do anything with it. So we've spent all this time and money to implement something, and then we don't use it. So because you've got to have that technology in the stores to be able to take advantage of that RFID tag, and that's some of the stuff that we saw, in the early days, 2003, 2005. Because one of my counterparts was working on that project with Pam and Linda, and from a supply chain side, and there were some of us that are going to go that were looking at it going, oh, that's cool, but what happens when it gets to the store? Oh, well, we can't read it when it gets to the store. It doesn't do anything for us, and we're like, all right, okay, so what are we doing about that?
Well, you would be amazed to see how far they've come, and not just Walmart, the entire retail industry. And we're talking about Walmart and Target and Macy's and Nordstrom's and Kroger and Dick's Sporting Goods, and you name it, they're all using RFID, right? And the purpose is all very clear. I need to know what I have, and I need to know where it's located, and that gives me the insights. And now, is 100%? No, but my on-hand accuracy on this bottle of water was 0. Thought I had 7 and I didn't have any. So it was 0. Normal retail kind of operations is somewhere between 40 to 60% on-hand accuracy, which is not very good. That means 40% of it's wrong, right? Now we're talking about mid to high 90s. Is it 100%? Not always. Technology doesn't work exactly very well. It's not very friendly when it comes to metal or liquids, which is why this is a really bad example to be able to using for RFID. But if you look at a Walmart store, most of the store is RFID equipped.
Yeah.
All of the general merchandise has RFID tags on it. So they are leveraging this technology and being able to equip their associates with tools to collect that data and rectify the on-hands very quickly and very rapidly. And it's very, very powerful.
Yeah. And it has changed. In fact, I mean, look at that. I pulled that off of something because I was just like impressed with how it, it had changed.
Yeah.
You collect those, right, Higgins?
No, I don't. I'm a nerd. I collect it all.
Collect it all.
Well, Mike, I love the way you laid that out. I think our listeners just got a really good course or a class on RFID if they didn't have a good understanding of it. But you've taught MBA students, you've coached executives, you've mentored teams. What do you think the younger rising professionals in retail supply chain need to understand today that maybe we didn't when we started?
Yeah, I think the biggest question to me is always be willing to learn and always be willing to ask questions. Okay, questions. There's nothing more frustrating for me when I go volunteer at a place and I give a class on something and I say, anybody have any questions? Crickets. Got no questions. Really? Humor me. Even if you don't have a question, figure out one that you're going to ask, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's the whole ability to be able to ask questions and learn from the experience of other people. And sometimes you'll learn stuff. Hey, I want to reapply that and do that again. And sometimes you'll learn stuff. Go, I never want to do that. I'm not going to do that. But you're always learning, even in challenging business situations. You're always learning. So don't be bashful about asking questions, right? So that to me is part of the always learning. Okay. I am heading towards the end of my working career, but I'm still asking all kinds of questions every single day, which is, why are we doing it that way?
Right.
And not in a cynical / smart aleck way. I really want to know, isn't there a better way to do this than where we're doing it today? And yeah, it's going to take some work to get there, but isn't the fundamental problem X, not Y? And so can't we apply some solution to this that will solve that problem? Right? And that's, to me, the big takeaway. I don't think people are inquisitive enough, and maybe they don't want to act like they're not asking good questions. I don't know. But to me, you always ought to have at least one question that you've got in your mind of what you want to ask, somebody who's been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, great point.
Well, if you do a podcast, you have to have lots of good questions, right, Higgins?
And you've asked a lot of good questions.
So you mentioned this before, and maybe you remind us again or come up with another one, a book or a resource that you recommend to someone getting started in retail logistics.
Oh boy, there's so many, and today it's actually turned in from books to more podcasts, because you got that 30-minute drive, or you have a 30-minute workout, and
Kev Talks is
you
the
want
top.
to get educated.
Okay, next one.
What's that?
As Kev Talks is at the top. What's the next one? What's the next podcast? Yes.
I think, obviously the one that I mentioned before, the Collaborative Disruption book by Tom Muccio, is certainly a good one for that whole P&G and Walmart relationship. That one would be, and I'm a little biased to that one because I lived that for 25 years. So I was very, very familiar with that one. The other one is, if you want to focus on supply chain, and now I will talk about the University of Arkansas. The University of Arkansas has the #1 supply chain, according to Gartner, in all of the United States from an undergraduate standpoint. And the person that led that for a while is Dr. Matt Waller. I think you probably know Matt. And now Dr. Brown Williams has taken over and doing a great job with that. But Matt wrote a book a few years ago. It was, I'll probably misquote it. It was something like the Definitive Guide to Inventory Management. It was more from a supply chain perspective, retail supply chain perspective, et cetera. Really good kind of how-to book around inventory management, because at the end of the day, inventory management is everything from bottles of shampoo on the shelf to where did I put my keys, right? Everything's got to have a place, and everything's got to have a process to be able to figure out how to flow product. Think about from the time Procter Gamble cuts down trees until they make the diapers, until they put it in the truck and it goes to a Walmart DC, and the DC cross docks it and it goes to a store. It goes in the back of the store, then it has to get moved to the shelf, then it actually gets put on the customer's basket and leaves. That's a supply chain, right?
Yeah.
In order for that data, or I'm sorry, I just gave it away. In order for that product to flow this way, data has to flow the other way. And it's got to be good data. It can't be bad data, because you're not going to make really good data without really good decisions with bad data. So,
and that's a whole nother episode. I would love to have you back and just talk about data. I've got tons of other, topics and questions around that. But so give us maybe one prediction. What do you think retail supply chain will look like in, let's say, 2030?
I'll give you a prediction that's somewhat controversial. I don't believe brick and mortar stores are going anywhere. I believe they're going to stay right here, right? Because when you start thinking about e-commerce and the online only kind of folks, those are great. They do great things. Obviously, folks like Amazon are doing a phenomenal business. At the end of the day, I want to be able to get my stuff quickly and rapidly and seamlessly. And there's not a better model out there, from my opinion. And I'm not saying this because I was worked there, but the Walmart Plus delivery program, where I can literally order something and within 30 minutes have it on my doorstep. There's nothing beating it, right?
Yeah.
So to believe that we're going to end up shutting down stores and going 100% to e-commerce, I just don't see it. I see a need for physical stores for people to physically shop, because some people like that experience, enjoy that experience, want to continue that experience. Other people I want to buy digitally and deliver to me wherever I happen to be. the brick and mortar stores, when you've got, Kevin, what is it? 95% of the U.S. population is within 10 miles of a Walmart store. When you've got that kind of logistical footprint, it's hard to beat that model. It really is. So are you going to lose some of your business because there's more items and a certain particular style of things that Walmart wouldn't carry? Yeah, you're going to lose some of that business. But I think Walmart will be around for a long time. I believe their brick and mortar stores will stay around for a long time. But I'll also tell you, I don't believe, unless you're figuring out every single day how we're going to innovate, even when business is good, unless you're figuring out how to innovate, you will become not relevant in the future. And you see all of these case studies right now where you've got businesses on a -5 comp sales, they're going down. Well, once you start that trend going down, it's hard to turn the ship and get it back up again. So I like the fact that there will continue to be retail stores, and I like the fact that it's going to continue to be, how do we innovate and continue to meet the customer who's buying product in our store, because that's what we want.
Yeah.
Mike,
I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think that's controversial. I think you're spot on, actually. And in fact, consider this an invitation for episode 5,000 in 2030. And come back and we'll play this back and we'll say, see, Mike said.
Yeah.
This has been great, Mike.
The only other thing I'll tell you, and we didn't cover all of the topics, but the other thing I'll tell you is, in addition to your customers being your most valuable, that's your goal, right? The associates have more choices than ever about where they work.
Yeah.
So you have to create a good working environment. You have to give them the ability to have technology and tools and robots and electronic shelf labels, all of those kinds of examples. And I know we didn't go into these on deep, but the reason that things like digital shelf labels are valuable, people have more important things to do, like take care of customers, than spend the next 5 hours changing out shelf labels, right? Stuff like that. Rather than scanning out of stocks on the shelf, robots do a really good job. Things like Badger robots and other robots that go down the shelf and seamlessly track all of that. Now, the robot doesn't have arms. It can't fix the problems, but it can certainly automate that data collection. We've got to figure out how to stop having our associates collect data for our systems. We've got to be able to empower them with AI, but that requires really good data sources like RFID and things like that that are in the store. So love to come back and talk more about that. But from my perspective, that to me is, you better take care of your customers and you better take care of your associates, because they have lots of options of other places to go. And if you don't create a challenging and exciting and rewarding work experience, they'll go somewhere else.
No, that was great, Mike. And in fact, I think we'll bring you back before 2030, definitely. I think we just scratched the surface on a lot of things that we could talk with you. So,
hey, Mike, this has been great. Sorry we had KP's got some technical difficulties, but we really appreciate you being on. And for everybody listening, we'd encourage you to spread the word. And if you like this episode, join us and subscribe and follow us. And we appreciate you. So I look forward to having you back on so we can talk specifically about customers, specifically about associates in the store. But for now, Mike, I really appreciate you being on board. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. Enjoyed working with you guys on this thing, and we look forward to doing it again sometime.
Right on, man. Well, you have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.